Hello and welcome to Sage Thyme. Lillian here with you today. Welcome back, everybody, myself included. It has been a minute or three since I have gathered here with everyone at this platform, and I had a few, I'll call them technical difficulties, because it's the new technology, right? I was misinformed in a sense about YouTube's subscription requirements. Long story short, I thought I had to have the channel on pause for a period of time while I figured everything out and got all the formalities in order, and come to find out there was nothing I needed to do, in fact. And what is fantastic about it is when I had noticed this too, when I was getting the information a month or two ago about what it was required to have a YouTube channel, it was during a very funky, I can't remember the details, Mercury aspect. I don't know if it was squaring Mars or something like that. And there were all kinds of technological glitches going on at that time, and I read the information correctly, but it was incorrect information, and I couldn't seem to access. My computer kept and my phone kept glitching out, not letting me access the correct information. So here we are. Welcome. I'm back. And we have an up and coming in a few hours, a new moon solar eclipse. It'll be happening here Pacific Standard Time at 8:13 p.m. So you can adjust that in accordance to where you are as for when the time of the solar eclipse is occurring. And I included new moon because not everybody knows, I certainly didn't for a long time, that a solar eclipse requires a new moon. And so new moons are about new beginnings. They are the seed activating, the intention being planted. And with every new beginning, there is an ending just preceding it. So here we are right now at this precipice of a new sprouting, a new emerging. And what does that emerging mean for you as an individual? And how is that projected and in a greater scope into the world around you? Or inversely, how can you see the changes in the world around you reflecting back the changes that you've worked so rigorously to create within yourself? And I say rigorously because in addition to recognizing and observing the energetics of individuals in the collective, and many different levels of development in the collective, when I say collective is a general term, we're all at different stepping stones in the cosmos of development, and those stepping stones don't necessarily go in a exact upward form. In fact, to use the word ascension, even though I don't necessarily subscribe to the movement, the popular movement of ascension, but ascension often doesn't look like, well, I don't know how we're seeing this, like this. It doesn't move in a line graph of a linear upwards exact moment. It's something more like this, if you did a squiggly line on a graph. And so our different stepping stones are up and down, sideways, backwards, upside down, inverted, and sometimes way off in left corner field. So there's a great deal of grace that can come with the greater, grander recognition of that within the self. And then, of course, When we come to an actualization of something within the self, well, we come to a place of having true, genuine, authentic compassion for the self and understanding, then we have that for everybody else as well. So here we are at this near exact precipice point of rebirth, and many people are already feeling and seeing hints or even evidences of who and what they're becoming into, and have been, for those who are really doing the self-aware work, are in well articulated recognition of where they've been and what they've been working on, even if the detailed awarenesses of all the nuances and minutiae aren't exactly clear. There is a great sense of, okay, I'm complete with this pattern of relationships, this programming of self-deprecation or self-limitation inwardly, and then how that transpires in the outward world. And so, oh, my cheeks are so flushed. And so with that, with this new moon, which happens to be quite beautifully and succinctly in the last degree of Aries, this new moon slash solar eclipse. So here we have the sun in direct alignment, sun, moon, earth, in a direct ray. And it's at 29 degrees Aries, so Aries is in the background. And I speak of Aries in Placidus terms, if you want to think in terms of sidereal, then of course you'd be looking at the last degree of Pisces. And I bring that up so that we can hopefully touch on that later, because I like to look at both. So right now we're looking at Aries, which is more of the earthly collective consideration, and it's recognized and understood or subscribed to more readily. So we'll stick with Aries. So 29 degrees and 50 seconds, which in the zodiac, any sign, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so forth, there are 30 degrees in a sign. And it starts with 1 and it ends with 29 degrees and 59 seconds. And when it gets to, instead of 29 degrees and 60 seconds or 30 degrees, it goes to 0. Just a quick review for those of you that don't spend a lot of time with astrology, because this is important. So here we are 10 seconds away from being at 0 degrees Taurus, the next sign. And at the same time, Pluto is at 0 degrees in Aquarius, making a square with the sun and the moon during this powerful and very telling eclipse. Of course, all eclipses are powerful, and we have 2 eclipse seasons annually. And so for right now, for the eclipse to be occurring in the last degree and the final few seconds of Aries, the sign of, in generality, the sign of self-identification. And in real terms, we recognize that ego, in its honest and most earnest understanding, is all the things that encompass what a person identifies with. And the attachment is kind of the ingredients and what makes it stick together. So attachment is part of the ego action, but self-identification, and we've spoken about this before. I am a woman, I am a man, I am non-binary, I am a religious or a spiritual affiliation. I am a good person. I am a bad person, or all the different things that we create, these labels. All the things that we not only create labels of as who we are, but we have consciously and unconsciously allowed others to slap labels on ourselves. And so I would encourage, as a wonderful burning and release ritual to do during this particular solar eclipse, is to write down all the labels that you identify yourself with and that others have put on you. Good, bad, indifferent. Write them all down, and if you're brave enough, burn them and release them. Because even the ones that you would qualify as good or in alignment with who you are, burn them, let them go. As they are true, they come back, just like anything and everything in the universe, as it is true for you at this period of time in your development, your spiritual self's development. It will come back to you. And there's this beautiful release and experience that occurs when we let go symbolically, ritualistically, and actually. The sense of identification of anything with anything as the me self, as the you self, as the individual self. And when we do that, we go into what I call 0 point or still point. This is referred to as beginner's mind. In the Tarot, in Hermeticism and Thoth Tarot, it is originally recognized as the Fool card. That I am no thing. And in that absence of identification, we create more and more space within ourselves for that higher octave spiritual self, the higher self, to integrate more fully within. And we start experiencing and practicing more deeply and more regularly what it is to be in the presence with our higher self, and what it is to have that presence within us and moving us. It goes along with thine will be done, opening up to what religions would call God, or spiritual theologies would call universe, first cause, source. Jedi would call the Force. All these different, whether it's Allah or Father Sky, opening up to that which is greater than oneself requires the beginner's mind, the release of attachment to identification. And here's what's important, because there's a lot of weaponizing of important words like ego. Yes, it's important to go through this practice and release and surrender that. And I would contend that it's equally as important to allow developing in new aspects of identification, self-identification, to create themselves from the old, composting the old, what no longer is, and letting something new and more developed and advanced come forward. And I say that the ego is important, in part because even though we are spirits having a human experience, we are still humans. And part of being able to develop the spirit is to be in a human body and interface in a human way. So how wonderful is that? It's very liberating to let go of the, don't do this, do that. And it's another little peanut or seed of recognition that you're exactly where you need to be. And when you look back on it, you don't have to go, oh, what was I? You can go, oh, that was great. And I learned so much, and I made some really big mistakes, and I'm cleaning it up. And now, because I'm cleaning it up, I'm enhancing the truth of the new truth, the greater truth of who I am becoming. And that is our solar eclipse at 29 degrees and 50 seconds of Aries, just about to move into Taurus, the second sign of the zodiac. Taurus, the spring, the seeds really sprouting with a little bit of strength. I mean, they're furtive and they're delicate, but they're full of nutrients, right? Anyone who's enjoyed sprouting their own seeds for culinary purposes, eating sprouted seeds and legumes, are packed full of nutrients, packed full of potential energy, potential coding for the next development of that plant. And so with this eclipse at the end of Aries, and the moon then moving into Taurus, right afterwards, the moon moves very quickly in the zodiac, 28 days, and it circles the entire zodiac. And in a few hours after this eclipse, I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe 6 hours or so, the moon will be leaving its placement in exact alignment with the sun, but still being in what's considered a conjunction. I think it'll be close. It'll be within 4 or 5 degrees, and crossing over the North Node, which is in Taurus. North Node, often referenced as fate, of like where our fate lies, where our purpose, our divine appointed purpose, destiny in a way, the nodes of fate. And so the North Node being in Taurus, and then being grazed by the influence of the moon that just had this celestial event with the sun and the earth in alignment, the moon is now carrying that information across the North Node and saying, I'm adding this to your purpose. I'm adding this to your divine fate, divine design. And it really tethers the entire schematics and theme of this solar eclipse into the anchored Taurus, the now becoming, growing limbs and becoming evident atop of the soil, not just down below where we can't see it. Still tender, so we still have to be careful and watch where we tread, not tread too hard or heavy, maintaining that sense of beginner's mind, and which goes perfectly with the theme of this, because with Pluto at a square to at 0 degrees and a square to this solar eclipse, Pluto is bringing in this seal on the etheric contract of the new you that you are creating. And because Pluto is about death and transformation and rebirth, and Pluto is sealing that, signed and sealed, you have gone through the rubble and back. And each and every one of you know what I'm talking about, because you've been doing this work rigorously for the last 20 or so years while Pluto has been in Capricorn. And in the last 30 days, 28 days, as the moon has been cycling the astrological signs, as well as the last 6 or so months since the last eclipse, these cycles within cycles within cycles have been bringing forth this incredible theme of death, transformation, and rebirth of a new identity, a new a new recognition of self, a more evolved and developed ego, an ego that is able to, in theme again with the astrology, is showing us, and I've been seeing this, observing this, and feeling this within my own process, a new developed genre of ego that has been in practice enough and done the deep digging enough that it is able to hold that beginner's mind, the no thought, the release of attachment state, hold that empty openness so that the universal divine force can greater imbue itself within the individual self, and having that be part of the new non-labeled label of identification to the ego. The ego that says, I am a human. I am not exactly sure what it all means to be a human and be in a witness state, and I'm okay with that. And I play these roles, not because I play games with other people, not because I dissociate and don't recognize I play these roles. I play these roles because to be in a human experience requires us to put on a costume each and every moment. And we recognize that because when at the center space, the still point of beginner's mind, we realize we aren't a good person. We aren't a bad person. We aren't a man. We aren't successful. We aren't failure. We are all the things that there are to be, and we are none of them. And that is that experience, not the intellectual understanding of it. The experience of that is the still point. And to have experienced that enough times, often referred to as samadhi. I believe nirvana is another term that coincides with samadhi and beginner's mind, no thought. Holy Spirit often melds with that a bit. To be in practice of that enough through meditation, stillness meditation, and then bringing it forward into movement meditation is to become it more so and be able to put on that costume and that mask in full awareness that one is playing a role and being a witness to that character role that we're playing, as much as one can be a witness to everybody else's. And in being that and doing that, being able to hold also that incredible sense of conscious presence in the heart space. That what I call, or what I would connect to the term the Holy Spirit, that connection of direct portal line to the heart of love, of divine love, of pure grace, the Holy Spirit. So having that conscious awareness in that space and being the witness to the role that we're playing allows us to have a experience of each moment living and interfacing with the common reality as a divine dance, being in that rhythmic movement of being moved in co-creative symbiosis with the higher self, with source, often referred to as flow state, and being the witness, the higher heart presence, the recognition and reverence of awareness and detachment, or excuse me, recognition and awareness of the ego label identification self and detachment from that, is this incredible symbiotic dance. It feels a lot like what I experienced in my 20s the first time I went and saw Argentine tango. Oh, the way that a couple moves in an Argentine tango is so unstructured and succinct and precise, and it looks and feels quite a lot like what it is to be embodied by the higher self, the higher spirit. And so this is, at all the different levels possible, I believe what a lot of people are moving into, becoming aware of, becoming more adept at, and some in mastery of. I mean, again, we're all at these different stages and spaces. And this solar eclipse tonight at 8:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is a fantastic, symbolic overlay, like a watermark on the collective. Okay, here you go. You've done it. You've come this far. Now keep going. Keep going. Keep working with this. You're moving into the spring seeds of Taurus. Nurture it. Protect it from the slugs and the squirrels that like to pull up your seeds and eat the nice amino acid and enzyme enriched seed pods. Protect your seeds from, we don't have to call them enemies, the squirrels and the slugs and the torrential rainstorms. When that happens upon our garden, they're not enemies to the garden. They're a part of nature. And so when the same occurs with people who are in this theater play, that are playing characters of the adversary, the opponent, the opposition, we don't need to look anymore at those people playing that role as evil or psychologically wrong or pathological or anything, even saying nice words with a dirty tinge on the tongue. We don't have to do that anymore because they're a part of the role to get us to the next stage. And we can go, thank you. Thank you for playing a part of this role. I have a greater awareness of it because I am present in the dimensional, the multidimensional awareness of the human self, the roles that I've played historically as the ego self, and what's underneath the conscious self that I don't know about even still, even with all the digging and upheavaling that I've done of that subconscious, and dimensions of the witness self and the higher self and the cosmic love, all those things. I'm sitting here in the middle of a crystal prism and I'm seeing all the facets of all the aspects of me and of my I, my lineage from the most basic self to the most cosmic everything, where everything is together. So that is a lot. And it's also it's a stepping stone. It's a place, just like a stepping stone in our garden. I love the analogy of the garden, and I know it's used a lot in terms of spiritual development and journey, and it works so well. Okay, so let me see if I missed anything in this. We've got Pluto doing its thing. The I am sense of identification, the labels, the ego. I think we'll just move on now. I pulled 3 cards from the Shaman's Dream. Oh, there was one other thing before we go to the cards. There is a playfulness that's coming through also in this newly developing sense of self in the Argentine tango with ego and subconscious and witness self and all of it. There's this sense of being able to be playful and humble. And I've discussed it a little bit already in between the lines, but being in that space of taking a loving and reverent delight in the personal fallibility of one's own present state consistently, and being in that playful, humble fallibility of, I'm probably making a mistake here, but it's not, because it's exactly correct for me right now. And I'll be able to look back at that and go, do I need to clean any of this up, make things right for anybody else if I've hurt or harmed anybody intentionally or unintentionally? I'm going to take an honest and radical, true, authentic view of that and make things right where it's appropriate. And having fun with that, letting that be part of the scene, part of the play, the accountability part, letting other people see you do that without needing, and seeing you do that from a place of just simply, I made a mistake, I'm here to clean it up, or maybe even just cleaning it up without the person even knowing or seeing it, but knowing that you did the right thing without any sense of external verification so that others can see. We don't donate to a good cause or create a not-for-profit for a good cause to help those that are marginalized and in compromised positions. We don't buy a coffee for the person in line behind us or whatever. We don't do that to get recognition, ideally. Not when one has gotten to a point where they are their own source of recognition, validation, and love as a whole, as a total. And so being able to do that playfully, humbly, and delightfully, without needing to be seen, without needing to be thanked, because you know what you're doing is right. You know what you're doing is in divine flow because you can feel it, and it feels exquisite, and it moves up through you like the seed at the first chakra, flowing all that energy, all the nutrients through the little sprout that's growing out its leaves and limbs. You can feel it because you're doing it and you know it. And so it's just simply you, yourself, and the higher ups and source. So I'm going to get to, actually I'm being told not to really worry about these cards. For the point of time efficiency, instead of looking at the Shaman Dreams cards, I've already shuffled Beyond Lemuria deck. So I'll pull a card or however many fly out. And there's that one. Here we go. Ladies and gents and in-betweens and alls. All right, here we go. Surrender. Look at that. This angelic celestial has been moving through hoops in a cycle. Stripped naked and bare, not falling, but surrendering to the cycle as what it is. And it gets a little tight down here at the bottom of a cycle, right? During the descent and moving through the passageway of the birth canal, there's a tight squeeze there, and it's not comfortable, and it can be traumatic. We all know and have been told most often that for the infant being born, and the mother too, it is a traumatic experience in its own unique way. But trauma doesn't have to sustain as suffering. It can move through the tight passageways, the hard, challenging, compressing, controlling squeeze that activates a child that's going through the birth canal. When a child moves through the birth canal in a natural birth, it activates along their spinal cord and their neural system all kinds of triggers for the intestines to start producing their digestive enzymes, vitamin K to be released, things that the immune system gets a huge activation, initial activation and boost, things that don't naturally occur if not going through this tight squeeze during the birth. So surrender to that, knowing that it is right and it is true and it is good. And when we know that the pain is right and true and good, the suffering doesn't have to swallow us. We don't have to get lost in it anymore. And even if you do, that's okay. Just hold on and breathe, because you will come out the other side. The more you surrender and let go of what was, the old labels, the old identifications of yourself and of others, of reality, of how to move through your day and how to move through your life, all these things about the human experience require a surrender at different stages and different intensities as we move through our souls, our spirit's development. So what a beautiful word to experience into and through the self. And when that opening and that surrendering is blossoming and unfolding within, the word trust, the capital T trust, that divine trust in source design, in the all design of everything that has you in a tiny little corner of it that's very intricate and deep, but at a grander, wider lens look is unseen. But when you get up close to the intricacies and design of your specific design, you can see all the details, and you can see the important and essential part of you being as within that grander design. And the surrender opens up to that capital T trust, that all is well, all is right, and we can know intellectually that is so, not because we see the future of where we're going. That is generally not the case, but because we remember the past and where we've been and how far we've come. And we maintain that awareness, that consciousness, with the filter of remembering who I choose, who you choose to be in that moment. So do I choose, have I chosen before to be swallowed and miserable or cynical and pessimistic? And in choosing that, did that alter my experience? And the answer for me has always been yes, in contrast to the times where I went through great suffering or pain, trials, challenges, adversaries, all of it. The antithesis of who I was, I considered myself to be. I went through all those things. And did I, in the midst of that compression and tension and physical pain, emotional pain, despair, all of the things of the human experience, did I hold on to that golden thread, the perennial thread of all faiths, all religions, all everything of love. And did I hold on to that thread even if I couldn't feel it, knowing that it was there, trusting that it will be there on the other end of that tension point, because it always is. It is the one, and off the top of my head, that I can think of, it is the one and only thing that is always there in all points in time. Even when we can't feel it in the moment, we can look back retrospectively and go, yep, I was protected, I was guided, I was held. Yeah, it didn't feel like it at the time. And I could feel into that experience and remember what it felt like to experience that I wasn't being cared for. I wasn't being safe. I wasn't being held safe. But the truth is I'm on the other side of it, and I'm continuing on this journey of my soul development. So I was. And I'm something more than I was before that. So love was there. Love was present. Love is life. So hold on to that thread. Hold on to that knowing. I was gonna wrap it up because we're trying to learn how to keep these a little shorter, but I'm feeling the call to draw another card. Okay, and this is simply confirmation of what we've been, the new blueprint. What you are sprouting from your seeds as your new sense of identification in this solar eclipse and in this eclipse season that you will be seen unfolding and branching out and strengthening and developing over the next 6 months until the next eclipse season. So maybe do some journaling, write down what's going on for you as an initiatory experience today and tomorrow. And then as we're in the current eclipse season, which should be, there'll be at least one more eclipse. I haven't looked into it, in 2 weeks. And then I believe there's always 3. Forgive me that I'm not remembering right now. So generally a 6-week eclipse season. And journal what's transpiring for you now, and then look back on that 6 months from now when the next eclipse season comes in. See what's transpired, see how it matches or doesn't the things that I've discussed, and spend time with that. Enjoy it, play with it, dance with it. Embrace yourself and exactly who you are in every moment, and do the Argentine tango. Make it sensual. Make it sweep you off your feet, dip you back in this incredible arch of surrender. Allow it to kick your legs up high. Smile, feel seductive, be sassy, be stern, be steel, be flexible and rigid. Feel all the feels, experience all the experiences, and delight in it. And stay true to who you choose to be. If who you choose to be is a emissary of love and kindness and compassion, you can choose all those things and maintain the integrity of those core choices as well. So enjoy. I would love to hear what's coming up for each and every one of you with this solar eclipse. Do share, and many blessings to all of you. Thank you again for being with me here today and always. Much love.